Hello students. So this is the second part of ISO 14000 Environmental Management System. So in the last part 1 we have discussed about what is ISO basically, and now we are going to see what is ISO 14000 and Environmental Management System. So here apart from ISO 14000 we will see how to get the standard like 14000 or 9000. It depends upon the business it will be concluded, and there will be an inspection team or audit team who can get the ISO and what are all the benefits of ISO, and all that we are going to discuss about in this topic. Okay, how to get the standard 9000 or 14001 series? So we need to apply for the certification. There will be a lot of procedures will be maintained by the organization. So we will see one by one. So environmental management system. So it is a set of policy methods, management actions, operating procedures, documentation and record keeping with defined responsibilities and accountability of a personnel within an organization to address its environmental issues. The second thing is we need to identify the problems and problem solving tool which can be identified in an organization in different ways. So it depends upon the need and the objective of an organization. The third thing is it will provide you a framework depends upon the organization to minimize the harmful effects of its activities on the environment. And fourth is EMS is a program of continual environment improving following a defined sequence of steps drawn from established project management practice and routine applied in a business management. So this is all about environmental management system, EMS. Next, steps of EMS. When we talk about steps of EMS, we need to know what is PDCA cycle and all about that. So in that second unit itself we discussed about what is PDCA, plan, do, check, act. So it's one of a concept. You are having, if suppose you are having a product or a process, it will be serviced like a improvement manner to be evolved by using a PDCA cycle. So plan in the sense is nothing but how we can improve the area to be identified, improvement area to be identified in the problem, and target to be fixed. And second thing is do and check and act. Each and every stage, every phase, we need to do a lot of things. So here in EMS, review the environmental consequences of the operations, establish an action plan to achieve the objectives. Third, monitor performance against these objectives. And fourth one is report the results appropriately. And final thing is review the system and strive for continuous improvement. So these are all the steps to be taken from the EMS according to PDCA. So the PDCA cycle is developed by or Deming cycle, or it may either it may be call it as Deming cycle or a SWOT cycle. So next we will see what are all the components which is available in PDCA cycle. We can call it as PDCA or PDAC. First one is plan. So planning is very important. The first thing is environmental aspect, legal and other requirements, and objectives, targets and programs. Second phase is do. So do in the sense we need to collect all the resources and what are all the responsibilities and authority, and competence, training and awareness, communication, documentation, control of documents, operational control and emergency preparedness and response. So first two thing is called plan and do. So under the PDCA cycle we will have another thing called check. So check in the sense monitor and measure, evaluate compliance, non-conformity corrective and preventive action, and control of records. The last one in check is called internal audit. The name itself we can understand, monitor and measure in the sense we have to monitor all the process and evaluate the compliance and control of records and internal audits. The final one is called act. According to plan, do, check, we need to act. So management review, the top level people can do this work, and ISO 14001 audit. It may be an internal audit or it may be an external audit which is done by the peoples. And next one is called benefits of EMS, environmental management system. So what are all the benefits we can achieve from EMS in the sense? Improved environmental performance due to compliance of standards, reduced liability for pollution control, and competitive advantage being environmental friendly, improved compliance of environmental law and regulations, reduced costs of pollution prevention, reduced accident due to emergency preparedness plan, and employee involvement due to awareness, improve public image, enhanced consumer trust, and last one is called more favorable credit terms. So by this EMS we can have this much of benefits can be achieved. Next is called International Standard Organization. In the last video itself we have discussed a lot about what is ISO, who evolved this, where, and what are all the who are all the peoples involved in those standards providing peoples like that. Next called principles of ISO 14000 series. So first one is attempt to give better environmental management. Product should be manufactured according to the safe environmental aspects. And third one is applicable to all countries. Fourth, EMS should be based on the broader interest of people and users, to be cost effective and flexible, to be scientific based and practical, useful and usable. So these are all the principles which is available in 40,000 series. And what are all the aspects of environmental management addressed by ISO 14000? So we will elaborately see one by one. Environmental management system, shortly called as EMS. So this is how we have discussed so much of points regarding the EMS. The second one is called environmental auditing and related investigations. So here this environmental auditing is nothing but it's one of a self-assessment to minimize the generation of waste and pollution things, which is issued by Ministry of Environmental Forest. And next one is called environmental labels and declarations. So labels and declaration means India can also have the scheme of eco labeling measures which is taken by the government. The product it environmental free or not, cradle to cradle approach, which means the raw materials from for other products. Okay, for example, the earthen pot which is to be collapsed, again it goes to the environment to make another product. So this is all about EL, that is environmental label and declaration. So next one is called environmental performance evaluation, that is EPE. So it's one of a performance measure. This is important to all the organizations, and it is also a benchmark for other products like other stakeholders. The peoples will understand about the company to a competitive from others. And with the EPA we will be having the three important things. One is operational incidents, management decisions, and last is called impact of environment. So this is all about EPE. And next one is called life cycle assessment, shortly called as LCA. So each and every organization will have the entire life cycle of a product. So it allows analysts to determine the technology, economical, environmental and social aspects of a product by this you can analyze everything of regarding the product life cycle. And final thing is called terms and definitions, T and D. So with this we are going to conclude the aspects of environmental. So the terms and definition in the sense, each and this which is related to organizations and leadership, and the terms related to planning, support and operations, performance and evaluation to improvement process, right? So next is called ISO 14001. So here it specifies the standards for establishment and maintenance of an environmental management system in an organization. It belongs to ISO 14000 series of standards relating to environmental management, including eco-labeling. So right now we have discussed about the eco-labeling, which is coming under the aspects. And next is called environmental audit. Audit may be an internal self-assessment, or it may be from the external peoples. And next is ISO 14001. EMS specification with guidance for use is the only certifying EMS standard. And ISO 14004, which is called EMS General Guidance on Principles, Systems and Supporting Techniques, is the guidance for the implementation of ISO 14001. The next is called organizations which can adopt ISO 14001. Who can adopt the ISO certification? So every company who can, maybe the person from 2 to 200, or it may be a small scale or medium scale or large scale, whatever it may be, the people can apply for ISO certification. Any organization, small or big, manufacturing industry or a business house can get ISO 14001 certification by establishing and maintaining EMS as per the specification. And once we applied for the ISO certification, so how many years it will be applicable? Which means it is valid for 3 years. The certificate is valid for 3 years, and we need to renew after every 3 years. Okay. The last point is called, it is a systematic, periodic, independent and documented verification process of objectively obtaining and evaluating evidence to determine whether an organization EMS conforms to the EMS audit criteria by the organization, and for communication of the result of the process to management. So these are all the things which is available in ISO 9001 on ISO 14001. And first party, second party and third party audit. In the last session we have discussed about the audit. So here audit in the sense, it may be differ from company, organization to organization. The first party in the sense, it is an internal audit. The audit may be done with the internal people, which is carried out within the company, so that the business can maintain control of the environmental performance and the EMS. The second one is called second party audit, in one where a purchasing company audit a supplier to be satisfied that the product is being manufactured according to the specification. The last one is called third party audit. So who will do the third party audit? One where an independent certification body audit an organization in order to issue a certificate of approval that the system met the specification of ISO 14001. That is, third party certification is the certification which is issued by an independent agency after satisfying that the organization EMS conforms to ISO 14001 standard. The next heading is called major elements of ISO 14001 standard. So what are all the elements which is available in ISO? The first standard is called environmental policy, planning, implementation and operation, checking and action, and final one is called management review. So this last management review will done by the topmost people who are all in the organization. So we will see one by one. Environmental policy. First requirement of EMS ISO system is to be establishment of environmental policy. The management it committed to the regulatory compliance, pollution prevention and continuous improvement. So this is all about the environmental policy. So for ISO 14001, we requires an organization to specify its policy and aspects and impacts, objectives to be set, and what are all the plans we made that is to be implemented. And after all doing the objectives, planning and all that, finally we need to check and take the corrective measures as per the set procedures. And next point is ISO 14001 views the environmental policy as the deriving force of the whole environment management system and requires the commitment of the top management to comply with all relevant law, pollution prevention and continual improvement. And the policy is required to be developed carefully according to the nature and scale of the operation and is communicated to all employee and public. The second point is planning. Identify and evaluate environmental interactions and scientific aspects or impact, and legal and other requirements, and develop environmental objectives and targets to be fixed to minimize the environmental harm. So this is very important in planning section. And as per the ISO, elements of organization activities, products or services that can interact with the environment. And impact is nothing but any change to the environment, adverse or beneficial, wholly or partially, resulting from organization activities, product or service. So these are all the points which is available in planning. The next thing is called implementation and operation. So what is implementation? First of all, we need to set some policy, and according to the policy we need to plan. And third, what we planned, that is to be implemented, that is to be done, that is an operation phase. Who will do this? To achieve the management plan, it will be required to have a proper structure and attach specific responsibilities. The competence level of employee will be kept in the view, and therefore the training needs will also be identified to implement a management plan. Internal communication for the purpose of environmental management system within the rank and file of the company will be necessary. As in any other organization, system, good documentation, operational aspects and their control is closely linked to the effectiveness of the system. So finally, these are covered in the element which is called implementation and operation. So that follows the plan exercise. And what are all the subtopics which is comes under this operation? In the sense, define the structure and responsibility. So we need to structure all the things, which means human resources, top managements, and appoint management representatives and all that. So top management to ensure the EMS is established, reports on performance over time, works with other to modify EMS. The second thing is called training, awareness and competence. Okay, requiring or taking a people for the organization is not an important thing. We need to provide some necessary training on the on-demand process. So for other than, we need to give awareness, commitment, skills and motivation and noble ideas throughout the cross section of the staff. The third thing is called communication. So communication must be done internally and externally. And fourth one is called documentation. What are all the things we have planned as a procedure and rules and all that is to be documented properly. In a software we can shortly called as SRS. Okay, software requirement procedure or whatever it may be. So here the documentation to be located, periodically reviewed, and guidance available when required. Obsolete documents are removed, the duplication to be removed. And fifth one is called document control procedure. So under the document control procedure, we are having such responsibilities and authority for preparing the document, making changes to them and keeping up to date. That is very important. Maintaining a documentation is not an important. What all the documents, what all the failures, what all the success we have met so far, we have to be maintained, we have to be taken into an account and put it as a separate documentation, like a benchmark. And sixth one is called operational control. For example, every management have to be taken into an account of disposal of waste, approval of new chemicals, and wastewater treatment. And the seventh point is called emergency preparedness and response. So emergency preparedness means accessing the potential for accidents and emergencies, preventing accidents, plans and procedures for responding accidents, and periodic testing of emergency plans and mitigating accidents. So this is all about the points. And next point is called checking. So the system also requires a mechanism of checking, correcting and improving. Every organization is required to have a procedures to measure, monitor, and if anything goes wrong, to deal with non-compliance, we need to maintain your records. So that records generated during day-to-day operations must be identifiable, traceable, retrievable, and protected from damages or loss. And EMS audit are to be carried out both internally and by third-party registration agencies. And in that, what the third-party registration agencies will do, they will monitor and measure environmental interactions, evaluate compliance, establish a non-conformance, corrective actions and preventive actions systems, and they maintain the records, and finally they perform periodic internal audit of EMS. Then fifth point is called management review. This is the final element of EMS specification. The management review will do by top management review performance and EMS performance, policies, priorities and objectives and recommended improvements. So how the top management has to access whether any changes are needed in the policy, objectives or other elements of the EMS reviews performance from all sources. Based on the review, the continual improvement of the EMS and environment performance to be ensured. And the final is called certification bodies accredited from other countries operating in India. Bureau of Indian Standard BAS, Det Norski, that is called as DNV, and Korea Management Association Quality Assurance, that is KMAQA, and Lloyd's Register Quality Assurance LRQA, Internal Certification Limited ICL, KPMG Quality Register, Bureau Veritas Quality International, that is BVQI, TUV India Private Limited, Quality Assurance Services, AJAE QS Certification Services Private Limited, and final one is called Standardization, Testing and Quality Certification. So these are all the certification bodies accredited from other countries operating in India. And how we can get the certification? So we discussed any company can apply for ISO. Who can get this? How can get this? So these are all the steps to be follow to get ISO certification. First of all, we need to put an appointment of consultant by the industry for establishing EMS as per standard. Second thing is called establishment and maintenance of EMS, including application for certification to be certifying agency. The next is auditing, and finally we get certification. Okay, the cost of the ISO 14001 certification depends on the nature of the company, size of the organization or initial status of the environmental activities in the organization. Okay, the cost of the certification also depends upon the charges, execution cost of EMS and auditing and certification charges. The total cost may vary from 3.5 lakhs to 10 lakhs, depends upon the size of the and nature of the enterprise. So this is all about the ISO 14001 certification. And here by this I conclude the EMS establishment may be done by through step-by-step procedure, and our country India is the founder member of to maintaining the standard in the various peers. Thank you.